Peggy 16.
Hey everyone, Mtashed here, and today we're going to be looking at strongholds in Anthem. These are multiplayer dungeons with multiple encounters that are going to have you fighting for your life for some of the best experience and loot that Anthem has to offer. So, if you're up for a challenge and you want to farm for some of the best gear on all 4 of your javelins, then get ready to take on these strongholds. In today's guide, we're going to be focusing on how to unlock strongholds, how to farm strongholds, as well as various tips and tricks on keeping you alive so that you can actually get the loot from them. Because these enemies are not going to just roll over and die. If you want the best loot in the game, you better be prepared to fight for it. Without any further ado, this is my stronghold guide. Unlocking strongholds will happen naturally as you play through Anthem. As you complete the critical path or story of the game, you'll unlock them and allow you to matchmake into them. You can find 3 other players that are looking to complete it, or group up with friends and tackle it together. What's nice is you'll unlock some of this content before you hit max level, so if you're looking for a boost in experience or some gear pieces to round out your build, this is going to be a good tool for you. Even at a lower level, completing a stronghold will provide rewards that are well worth your time. But if you want the absolute best stuff, you're going to need to be able to complete some of the hardest content, the Grandmaster content. So let's take a quick look at how the difficulty levels will impact your gameplay. One of the keys to success when trying to tackle these strongholds is choosing an adequate difficulty level. Early on, when your gear is weaker, you may want to stick with easy and normal, but as you get loot and your javelin becomes more powerful, you can step things up to hard. And at level 30, you'll unlock the Grandmaster difficulties. Now these are going to make it much more challenging, and the HP and damage of your enemies will ramp up very quickly, but it also provides one of the best ways to get loot in Anthem. If you're hunting for things like masterworks and legendaries, be ready to turn up that difficulty level, but don't be going in unprepared, or you're going to have a very tough time, because these enemies are not going down easy. That being said, I highly recommend you do content at the hardest difficulty that your team can manage. The rewards will be well worth your time, and getting something like a masterwork will be a massive spike to the power of your javelin. Now let's look at some tips and tricks on actually completing these strongholds. My first tip is communication. Whether you're match made with 3 other players or you have 3 friends that you're bringing in directly, communicating about what abilities you're using, when you're trying to combo your abilities with other players, or using things like your ultimate ability is extremely important if you want to survive these strongholds. If you have access to a mic and headset, I do highly recommend using them because it's going to drastically improve your chances of beating some of these bosses and encounters. For my second tip, I highly recommend you learn and master the combo system in Anthem. There are primer and detonator abilities that will allow you to combo with your teammates. So for example, if the interceptor puts the acid debuff on some of these enemies, or the colossus sets them on fire, I'm able to follow up with a thunder strike and not only do bonus damage, but spread those debuffs to other enemies in the area. By comboing these abilities together, you're going to hit much harder and you're going to be a much more lethal team. Speaking of teamwork, make sure to use the special abilities to your advantage. Our Colossus is using his taunt ability. Our Interceptor just used his ability to clear the debuff off of the Colossus, and now all 4 of us are able to rain fire on this tanky enemy. Having a mixture of these different javelins will provide a ton of utility to your team and improve your chances of success. While you can win these strongholds with 4 Storm, I don't think that it's optimal. It's also worth noting that different enemies have different strengths and weaknesses. The Interceptor on my team can easily apply his acid debuff, but my ball lightning never applies my electric debuff, making it harder for my team to combo. Had I known this, I might have picked a different ability so that we could get more damage and more status effects on this boss. Understanding your opponents as well as your abilities will be a key to success, but also the timing of them. Make sure when you're using your ultimate, you stick to bosses and large clusters of enemies. You want to get the most bang for your buck when using this, so you want to be making sure that you're taking out the big threats and not just a single target here or there. The cooldown is long enough that you're going to be missing it if a bunch of enemies end up spawning on you, or you just need that last little bit of damage to take out the stronghold boss. Once you get into Grandmaster difficulty, even the smaller enemies are going to hit you very hard, and if you allow them to group up, they can be particularly deadly to you and your team. So throwing an ultimate down and clearing as many of them as possible in one fell swoop is a great usage of your ultimate. You're going to get it back, and your team is going to be safer because of it. As for gameplay, those are my main tips, but there is one more key tip that I need to tell you because this is going to be the make or break, especially going into the higher difficulties. By completing strongholds, you're going to get a ton of loot. Some of them will be upgrades, but a lot of them won't be. So feel free to salvage them and break them down for crafting materials. You can then take those crafting materials and make consumables. You get one at level 10, one at level 20, and one at level 30. And what this means is at level 30, doing endgame content, you can craft up to 3 different consumables and apply them before a stronghold. Some of these consumables are very strong, and depending on the rarity, you can get a 10, 20, or even 30% boost to your stats. Need some extra shield? You can craft that. Need some extra ultimate damage? You can craft that. Even the lower level consumables provide a nice boost to your survivability and your damage, so you might as well at least get something equipped when you're going into that harder content. Thanks for watching, hopefully you enjoyed the video, and hopefully you learned enough to take on strongholds for yourself. I'm Mtashed, and I'll see you soon, my friends. Bye-bye.